Let me ask you a question. What do Pokemon Ultra Sun and the J-pop band Penthouse have in common? They're both insanely underrated. Today, we're going to beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Ultra Sun while only using Pokemon that start with the letter I. The rules are on screen now, but in short, once a Pokemon faints, it's dead forever, no using items like X items or potions in battle, and I can only catch the first I Pokemon on every route or in every city. Leave a comment guessing how many encounters you think we're going to have in this run, and let's jump right into it. Okay, I know I made a bold claim at the beginning of the video, but this A-spamming simulator is really not doing me any favors. After giving myself Carpal Tunnel, we get to pick our starter, Ivan the Litten, but since we have to wait till level 34 to evolve this guy, and our level cap is only 12, it might be a little while. We take down How twice, and then we get access to Pokeballs, so we can get our first eligible encounter, just outside our front door. In Ha'oli outskirts, we run around in the grass until we find an Inkay named Ilsa. With the contrary ability reversing stat changes and having some pretty good IVs, we should have a pretty solid team member here. With only our little squid to get us through the early section of this game, there's two important battles we gotta focus on. First, we've got a date with Teacher Emily in the trainer school. We go into this battle at level 9 for XP management reasons, but since she's only got a Poplio, and we recently learned the 95 base power move Foul Play, which is a little special, but we'll talk about that later, we get through this one pretty easily after surviving a water gun with 5 HP. With our bachelors in battling earned, we get a first class ticket to Ha'oli City, the first major city of Mele Mele Island. Here, we get taught a local greeting, which kind of feels like saying arigato in a Japanese restaurant. Then we get a super useful tutorial on the camera feature before we arrive at the second important battle of this section against Trial Captain Alima. He leads with Yungoos and I lead with our only option, Inkay. I mentioned this earlier, but we recently learned the move Foul Play, a 95 base power stab dark move that has a unique twist that benefits us a lot in this run. Instead of using your attack stat, the damage is calculated with your opponent's attack stat, which is really good for us for two reasons. First, Inkay only has base 54 attack. That's less than Foongus. But that does mean we can focus all of our EVs on HP and defense later on, instead of trying to boost our damage output. This battle is a great example of the strength of Foul Play, since we can actually two-shot Alima's first Pokemon, which we normally wouldn't be able to do, and then when his Ace Smeargle comes out, we can take advantage of the 170 EVs that it already has in attack. It's level 11, by the way, so we get another two-shot KO after surviving a water gun in the red. One horn grab later, what the fuck? We access Route 2. Here we can scan a few QR codes with our handy dandy 3DS camera, and then we can activate Island Scan. This feature lets us encounter Pokemon you can't find anywhere else in Alola. On Fridays, we can actually find our next encounter here, a Bulbasaur that I nickname Ireland. I did need to reset for a hidden power ground, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Once she evolves at level 16, we can... wait. The level cap is 12 right now. You're telling me Inkay is going to do this all on her own? After a detour to Big Wave Beach, we head inside Verdant Cavern, where we barely manage to stay under the level cap, then challenge our first totem of the run, Totem Gumshoes. Totem Gumshoes starts the battle with a +1 defense boost, and I lead with our only team member, Inkay. We set up a Reflect to take 50% less from physical moves, then our contrary ability comes in handy as Gumshoes tries to get the speed advantage with Scary Face. That backfires though, since it gives our squid a +2 boost instead of a drop before it calls its first ally Pokemon, a Yungoos. Foul Play almost brings down the ally, but after taking a bit of damage from the totem, we take down Yungoos on the next turn, leveling up to 13, which is allowed in my rule set. Since the AI really wants to have the speed advantage, and it doesn't really understand our ability, Totem Gumshoes uses Scary Face again, increasing our speed. This works out really well for us because we only have to tank one more attack for the rest of the battle before we bring it down using its own attack stat against it with Foul Play. That brings down the normal type totem, and with that, we've passed our first trial of the run, but there's another tough battle coming up really soon. With our level cap bumped up to 16, that finally gives Inkay a little bit of help. Bulbasaur evolves into Ivysaur, and this just went from a solo to a duet. The Ultra Space Power Rangers, wait, what are they actually called? The Ultra Recon Squad members are screwing around, so after we rescue Nebby, give Hao a quick 1-2, there's only one thing left to do on Mele Mele Island. We make our way back to Iki Town, and it's time for our first grand trial of the run against the fighting type specialist, Kahuna Olivia. Kahuna Olivia leads with Machop, and I lead with Inkay. After we set up a Reflect and tank a Revenge, we start using Psy Wave, a very inconsistent psychic type move. Since it does random amounts of damage every turn, no, like actually, it's literally gambling addiction seismic toss, but thankfully, Inkay and her held Oranberry flips enough heads, and we bring down Machop with 21 HP left over. We level up to 17, again, allowed in my rule set, and Hala sends out Makuhita second. I'm expecting it to use Fake Out, so I take this chance to swap into Ivysaur for free, making her video debut. We set up Grassy Terrain, which it has thanks to Island Scan, then we hit a Sleep Powder before bringing Inkay back in on a full heal turn. We actually get pretty lucky in this matchup since Makuhita just kinda tries to spam Sand Attack to drop our accuracy, but with our contrary reversing the stat drops, we get it boosted up to +6 before Hala even realizes what he's doing. At this point, it's too late though, since Psywave has already done enough damage to waste a Super Potion and bring Makuhita all the way back down again, securing Inkay her second KO of the battle and leaving Hala with only his ace, Crabrawler. I swapped to Ivysaur to resist its stab fighting moves, and it's a good thing I did, since Hala uses his Z move here, all out pummeling, but it only does 9 damage to our poison type. We set up Grassy Terrain again, but after a Power Up Punch boosts Crabrawler's attack to +1, I'm getting a little bit nervous about it. Thankfully, we do hit a Sleep Powder on the next turn, so we can get off a few free Vine Whips to give us the damage advantage that we desperately need. By the time it does wake up and hit a pursuit, Hala's ace is in the yellow and Ivysaur still has her Oranberry. We trade a few more attacks, but after a couple more turns, a Vine Whip brings down the final Pokemon of the battle, and we've taken down the Kahuna of Mele Mele Island. That's the first of 4 islands done, but the other 3 are definitely going to be a little more challenging. God, I want to ride you. Whoa, I was talking about Mantine. What'd you think I was talking about? With access to Mantine surfing, not only do we head over to Akala Island for the first time, we also earn some BP, or beach points. With these, we can access the move tutors at each of the 4 beaches spread around Ula'ula, but we can also grab some great items like vitamins for some EVs and the expert belt and leftovers a little bit later on. Typically, I don't EV train my Pokemon on my runs, but all the boss trainers and totem Pokemon have specifically designed sets with EVs, and I only have 2 Pokemon and one of them is a fucking Inkay. I'm leveling the playing field, okay? After we meet with Kahuna Olivia and Dexio and Cinna for some reason, Route 5 is calling our name. We actually get to add a 3rd team member here, an Igglybuff named Isaac. Since we can't evolve him in this run, we're stuck with these stats, so we're basically at 2.5 team members. Paniola Ranch only nets us a hidden power TM, which is going to be more important than you think. Then we take care of Gladion with help from Type Null's attack stat and foul play, before arriving in Brooklet Hill, home of our next trial. In the Ultra games, Totem Wishy-Washy got turned into Totem Araquanid, which makes this a whole lot harder for my Dark Psychic type. That leaves a lot on Ivysaur's plate for this one, so after we do a little bit of backtracking to Mele Mele for something, it's time for the 3rd trial of the run. Totem Araquanid starts the battle with a speed boost, and I lead with... Really? This is what we're doing. Listen, with a bunch of special defense EVs, Igglybuff can actually survive a rain boosted, water bubble boosted stab bubble, letting him get off a fling, a move that launches your held item at your opponent. Since he's holding the poison barb, that inflicts the water type totem with a poison, giving us a clear win condition, survive. Araquanid calls its pre-evolution, Dupitor, as its ally, then after protecting for a turn, we swap to Ivysaur to resist the incoming water moves. After another protect, we connect with a Giga Drain that we learned from the beach move tutors, and it only does neutral damage thanks to its part bug type, but we get enough recovery to safely tank 1 more leech life before bringing down the Brooklet Hill totem. That leaves only the super weak Dupitor to take care of, so a few turns later, Ivysaur claims her 2nd KO, and we've beaten our first trial on Akala Island. On to the next one. Yeah, that's right. Show some respect. Hapu is bullying some Team Skull members, fair enough. Then we arrive in Royal Avenue. We grab the rest TM, then meet up with the Masked Royal. I'm just saying, masked people who compete in Battle Royales, not the best track record. After everyone teamed up on Rockruff, Kiave gets some good vibes from us and tells us to hike up Wella Volcano and challenge his trial. Before we do need a little bit of help from the Festival Plaza to get some EVs for this battle, so after purchasing some delicious meals, let's go take on what might prove to be the toughest trial so far, Totem Alolan Marowak. Totem Marowak starts the battle with a +2 speed boost, and I lead with Inkay. It uses Detect on the first turn, but since I kind of assumed that it would, so I take this chance to set up a Reflect for free. Its ally Pokemon, Salazzle, gets called in, and now this battle is a pretty tough 2v1. I was hoping it would go for Poison Gas here, but instead Inkay tanks both a Flame Burst and a Flame Wheel, hanging on in the red before connecting with a super effective Thief, taking the totem's held Thick Club, essentially cutting its damage output in half. Inkay is super important for the rest of the run moving forward, so unfortunately, a less important team member needs to take the fall here. Igglybuff's stats don't really hold up past this point, well, actually quite a bit before this point, but whatever. The sacrifice is made, but I really need to make sure it wasn't for nothing. Ivysaur comes in now, which might seem kinda crazy, but do you remember when I talked about resetting for Ivysaur's hidden power type? Since with max speed EVs, Ivysaur outspeeds and brings down Marowak's only ally Pokemon with a 4x super effective ground type hidden power, getting us the level up and taking out the biggest threat of the battle. After hitting a sweet scent on the next turn to guarantee a sleep powder hitting, a couple hidden powers bring down the Whale of Volcano Totem, and somehow our grass type has taken down both of the fire type Pokemon. That's definitely been our toughest battle to this point in the run, but I have a weird feeling it's only gonna get harder. With our Pokemon count cut down to 2, we've got a real tough road ahead of us before we get some reinforcements. After heading through the tunnel and meeting with Colress, we get to the lush jungle. A grass trial? This should be easy. I've got a poison type, and she doesn't learn any poison moves. Well, that's fine. We could reteach Takedown or some move relearner is at the Pokemon League. Oh. This is going to be rough, isn't it? Totem Lurantis starts the battle with a +2 boost to its speed, and I lead with Inkay. After tanking a Solar Blade, we hit a Torment, forcing the Totem to alternate moves every turn. This helps us win certain 1v1s when you can protect to always avoid the highest damage move. For example, when I swap to Ivysaur now on an X-Scissor and a Sunny Day from its ally Kecleon, now Lurantis will only be able to hit my grass poison type with either resisted Solar Blade or resisted Low Sweep. Our best move here is Nature Power, which changes into Energy Ball in the forest, and it's doing that much. And since Lurantis has Synthesis, we're going to be here for a while. The sun from earlier actually does boost our healing from Synthesis as well as Lurantis's, so I'll fast forward for a bit because this is going to take forever. After finally PP stalling it out of Synthesis, we get a few Screech defense drops from Kecleon, so I need a little bit of help from Inkay to finish this battle off. Foul Play takes care of the Totem while it's charging a Solar Blade, then after a few Screeches just boost our defense instead thanks to Contrary, Kecleon meets the same fate as Lurantis. With that, every single Totem Pokemon of Akala Island is dealt with, and that only leaves one trial left to clear. Oh, hey Professor, you want to take me somewhere? I really hope it's not like, your wife's boring ass office. God damn it. After barely escaping with our lives, we head through Diglett's tunnel, taking out a couple grunts along the way. An old man in a trench coat ambushes us and opens his coat and gives us a Thunderstone. Thank God. Welcome to Coney City, the biggest city on Akala Island and the location of some much needed items. We grab the Eviolite to boost our defenses for both Pokemon, ignore the camera angle. Then we grab a whole bunch of TMs, including a poison move for Ivysaur. We check in at Olivia's shop, grab a fossil that we probably don't need, then we're off to Memorial Hill. Don't see me, don't see me, don't see me. Nice. In the Akala outskirts, we take down Plumeria pretty easily, and all that's left to do is take on the second grand trial of the run, the rock-type specialist of Akala Island, Kahuna Olivia. Kahuna Olivia leads with the Hoenn Fossil Anorith, and I lead with Ivysaur. A neutral bug bite doesn't really threaten Ivysaur, so a couple of nature power turned energy balls bring down Olivia's lead, bringing out the other Hoenn Fossil next, Laleep. Its best move is Ancient Power against us, and it's not doing a lot. So we can pretty easily use a Synthesis, then hit a few more energy balls to secure Ivysaur her second KO of the battle. That leaves only Lycanroc left for the Akala Island Kahuna, so after we tank a bite, an energy ball drops the rock type to half. That means on the next turn, one more bite. No big deal. So on the next turn, okay, fine. On the next turn, you're f***ing with me. Nah, this cannot be fair. Fine. I swap to Eviolite Inkay, who takes a couple of bites and thankfully doesn't get flinched 3 times like somebody, and that lets us take down Lycanroc. With that, we've taken down the grand trial of Akala Island, and that's 2 of 4 islands down. Over at the Hano Grand Resort, we take a trip to a private island with this old man. I'm getting a bad feeling about this one. We meet Lusamine here. God, ruined my life. Then we take down our first Ultra Beast of the run before getting the Psychic TM and taking a trip to Ula'ula Island, the third island of Ula'ula. Thankfully, we can prep before our battle against Hop in the Ultra Games. Check out my Sun T only video if you want to see me get punished by that. His lead Dartrix gets 2-shot by Venoshock from Ivysaur, and that brings out Alolan Raichu second. Our part Dark-type Inkay gets a free switch in here on a Psychic, then a Foul Play takes care of Hao's second Pokemon. Third up is Tauros, but since Intimidate doesn't affect the power of Foul Play, and even a crit Horn attack doesn't bring us to half, Inkay safely takes care of the normal type with a couple more Foul Plays. That leaves only Vaporeon to take care of, but my grass type switches into a Water Pulse no problem, then makes use of Giga Drain to keep us healthy. After a few turns, Hao's final Pokemon goes down, and we've unlocked Ula'ula Island. Welcome to Melee City, home of the library? I don't know. Inside the melee garden, Kukui lets us continue our journey, so after escorting Lily around, we hop on a bus and get to the top of Mount Hokalani, where the observatory sits. Seeing the Pokemon League in the distance is getting me fired up, so after finding some missing Charger Bugs and not having to fight Moylain, thank god, it's trial time again. So let's see what Totem Togedemaru can do to slow down this run. Totem Togedemaru starts the battle with a +2 defense boost, and I lead with Ivysaur. Its best move against us is the 2-turn bounce, so we can pretty easily protect to block all the damage. In the meantime, Skarmory gets called in as an ally, and we either put it to sleep or heal up with Synthesis until the totem is out of bounces and the real battle actually starts. I retaught Ivysaur the Hidden Power TM, so a 4-time super effective ground type move does over half to Togedemaru, and its resisted Zing Zap isn't threatening a preschooler, let alone us. After a couple more turns of using Protect and Synthesis, Hidden Power brings down the Totem Pokemon, leaving only its ally Skarmory left standing. I'm not going to waste your time here. Ivysaur and Inkay tag team this one, bringing down my recurring carry, and we've taken down the first trial of Ula'ula Island. Only 2 left to go. Our level cap is up to 35, and that might be the biggest moment so far in the run. That's because at level 34, our starter, yeah, remember this guy? He evolves first into Torracat and then into Incineroar, making him eligible for the team. Getting our first fully evolved Pokemon is huge, and honestly, it couldn't have come at a better time. With help from our pro wrestler, we get through our first battle with Guzma no problem, then we can start making the long journey to the other end of Ula'ula Island. After running through Route 11, wait, why do I feel like I'm forgetting something? Weird. Anyways, we grab a new ride Pokemon on Route 12, a Mudsdale from Hapu to traverse the rocky terrain. A few gallops later, we meet up with Hau and Gladion, then grab the Taunt TM from this punk before getting to Tapu Village. Here we catch a glimpse of Mount Lanakila, then head to the Aether House where we meet up with Acerola. Surprise, she's a trial captain. So she escorts us to the Thrifty Megamart, where we shoot some stock footage for some Conjuring fucking 15 movie or whatever they're on now, before it's time to face our second trial of Ula'ula Island against Totem Mimikyu. Totem Mimikyu starts the battle with a full Omni Boost, yeah, +1 in all its stats, and I lead with Incineroar. Play Rough does solid neutral damage to us, then a Torment forces it to alternate moves every turn. Banette shows up as an ally Pokemon, then a slow U-turn lets me bring in Inkay, who unfortunately does get cursed by Banette. That shouldn't be a big deal though, since after Shadow Claw drops us into the red and a Screech boosts our defense, we use the move Topsy-Turvy, a status move that reverses all of the target's stat boosts. So now, the Totem of Thrifty Megamart has -1 in all its stats instead of +1. I swap out to Ivysaur now on a Leech Life and a Feint Attack, and kinda just like against Totem Lurantis earlier, our Grass type can now take advantage of Torment and Leftovers to chip down Mimikyu with Giga Drains, staying healthy for long enough so that when I do swap back to Incineroar, Banette kills itself with Curse, and then a single Fire Punch can bring down the Ghost type Totem. That's our second and final Totem Pokemon of the island taken care of, but there's something big that's about to impact our team. We've only got the Grand Trial left on Ula'ula, but that's the last thing on my mind right now. With our level cap up to 44, our final encounter of the run is finally available to us. On Route 11, just outside Melee City, we can make use of the Island Scan feature again, scanning a few QR codes to unlock another rare encounter. This time, a Monferno named Ian. And before anyone says anything, I spelled it with the extra I like this on purpose. Shout out young Sheldon actor Ian Armitage. After a few rare candies, Monferno evolves into Infernape at level 36, making him eligible for the team. He's going to be our best encounter of the run by far, and what better way to take him for a spin than doing a quest to save a stolen Yungoos. So let's head over to Po Town, Team Skull's home base. Remember everyone, see how paying for your Pokemon to be healed is like weird and bad? You should feel that way about people too. Everyone deserves medical care without going bankrupt. Right guys? We're nodding our heads, yes? Okay, good. After definitely finding all the passwords properly and not googling them, we head through the Shady House where we have a battle with Guzma again. The final battle against him is right around the corner, so we're going to talk about the strategy I use against him a little bit later. Nanu shows up to complain about being old or whatever, but it's time to head back to the Aether House. Uh-oh, Gladion broke into children's home again. Chris, can we get this guy, please? He agreed to join our team as a form of community service. Then before we can set off on our journey, Nanu flexes his Kahuna status and challenges us to the final trial of Ula'ula Island. Let's see what him and his dark types have in store. Kahuna Nanu leads with Sableye and I lead with Inkay. Protect blocks a fake out, then we start our classic Torment strat. This prevents Incineroar, who swaps in next, from having to tank any super effective power gems. With only resisted Shadow Ball to do any damage to us, our Dark type makes pretty quick work of Nanu's lead Pokemon, and he sends out Krokorok second. I think we can tank one Earthquake here, so after getting intimidated and protecting for more Leftovers recovery, we get Swagger? Okay, well now we're at +1 attack, so our super effective U-turn can actually get a one-shot KO here after we break through, taking down Nanu's second Pokemon of the battle and giving me a free swap into Infernape as a Alolan Persian comes out last. Protect blocks fake out damage, then a neutral power gem does like a quarter to us before we hit a power-up punch, our unique island scan move. That gives our fighting type +1 attack, and that's kinda all we need here. After tanking one more power gem, a super effective close combat brings down Nanu's ace, and we've won the Ula'ula Island Grand Trial. That leaves only one island left to conquer in this run, but we've got a lot of other stuff to deal with before we get to that. Wait, this is your boat? What kind of teenager has a boat? And if anyone comments, if you can't afford a boat in your teens, you need to grind, or some scammer BS like that, go ahead and become a YouTube member if you're so loaded. I team up with Hau and Gladion for some double battles, but those are pretty irrelevant, so let's skip straight to the final showdown against Guzma's bug types. Guzma leads with Golisopod and I lead with Inkay. Protect dodges the threat of 4 times super effective first impression, then it's Torment time. This time, we're going to avoid super effective Razor Shell when we bring in Infernape. Since we're only taking damage now from resisted Sucker Punch, our Sinnoh starter is free to get up to +4 attack using Power Up Punch, and then we can use super effective Flame Wheel to get easy KOs on Masquerain, who dropped us to +3 with Intimidate, Golisopod, who came back after using its emergency exit ability, Pinsir, who's basically just a sitting duck, and Vikavolt, who is begging for a buff to its speed. That's Team Skull taken down, but we've got plenty more battles to go in Aether Paradise. We might be able to get into the mansion now, but that doesn't mean we'll be able to leave it in one piece. One piece! After the crazy reveal that the rich blonde kids are related to the rich blonde CEO, crazy stuff, I know, we get to tango with Lusamine. And trust me, this is not the kind of tangoing that I had in mind. Lusamine leads with Clefable, and I lead with Incineroar. Fairy types with psychic coverage are a real problem for our team, so Incineroar needs to sacrifice most of his HP to take it down. But before we get the chance, Lusamine swaps into Milotic to tank a Fire Punch. I've got a good answer for this though, Ivysaur, so after a few Giga Drains and a Synthesis, we take down the first Pokemon of the battle. This brings Clefable back out next, but Ivysaur makes pretty quick work of what little HP it had left, so next up is Beware. I swap into Inkay on a Dual Chop, then we get off our signature Torment before bringing in Incineroar again. Now that we can avoid super effective Hammer Arm, we get enough chip with Fire Punch to let Infernape come in and finish the job with a close combat. That brings in Lopunny 4th, but that's a pretty bad call against my fighting type, so just as quickly as she got sent in, we take her out. That leaves Lusamine with only her Lilligant left, but it only has Grass type attacking moves, so a couple Flame Wheels take it out no problem. That's Lusamine taken care of, and I really want to know what my reward is. Oh, just money? I did all this for just money? An Ultra Wormhole sucks her up, lucky bastard. Then to save her, we've got to go get the Sun Flute from the final island of Ula'ula. So everyone, welcome to Poni Island. We meet Mina, who has her own trial in this game. Then we find out that Hapu is going to be the next Kahuna. There's got to be like a height requirement, right? After helping out some Alolan Executors, we get the Sun Flute, then give Team Skull a final beating before heading through the vast Poni Canyon. We find an abandoned trial site at the end of the path, and there's this feeling of eyes watching us as we enter. The Z Crystal sits on the podium, seemingly unguarded, but as we reach for it, we find out we're not totally alone. Totem Pokemon starts the battle with a full +1 Omni boost, and I lead with Infernape. Our current goal is to do at least 33% to it, because if you didn't know, if you take out a third of its HP or more on the first turn, it'll call out its second ally Pokemon first. That's really important for us, because I'd much rather deal with this underleveled Scizor instead of the Noivern with Boomburst. The ally went for Bullet Punch on the next turn, which I didn't plan for, so Infernape actually ended up risking a crit. Thankfully, we didn't get punished, so we slow U-turn out, letting me bring in Ivysaur for free. From here, we hit a Toxic to put Komodo on a timer, then Protect for some more damage before swapping out into Incineroar on a Dragon Claw and an X-Scissor that drops him below half HP. That's not a big deal though, since after one more turn of protecting, Toxic takes out the Poni Canyon Totem, and now this battle is a pretty even 1v1. And by even, I mean totally unfair for Scizor. We level up to 50, which is allowed in my rule set, then we outspeed the ally Pokemon and bring it down with a 4 times super effective Fire Punch. With that, we've taken down the abandoned trial, and it's time to find out what's been hiding through the cave. Hold on. Let me get this straight. You want me to climb up on this Aztec-looking pyramid and play a song on a clearly marked platform? This has got to be a human sacrifice, right? Luckily for us, it wasn't a human sacrifice. It was a Solgaleo sacrifice. Bye, Nebby. Thanks for saving this one for the team. What? We have to... Fine, we'll save her. The Power Rangers are back to give us a ride through Ultra Space, and trust me when I say, this minigame was not meant to be played with a mounted 3DS. Yeah, make sure you take it off your GameStop testing station before you play it. I saved that, right? Yeah, good. Just in case you can't use the motion controls well for some reason, you can go to the Game Freak office in Heya City and change it to joystick controls if you want. That's what I did. Welcome to Ultra Megalopolis, you know, from that terrible movie. It's not the only terrible thing that's here though, since we've got a date with the Ultra Beast that's trying to take over the world. Ultra Necrozma. Ultra Necrozma starts the battle with a full Omni boost with 754 base stat total and an 8 level advantage? Yeah, that sounds fair. The only way we're going to get through this thing is if we reverse those stat boosts with Topsy-Turvy, so we've got to risk a crit on this incoming Dragon Pulse. Thank God. Now that this thing is kinda nerfed, I pivot through Ivysaur to bait a Psychic move that gets Incineroar in for free. From here, we tank a Power Gem, then use Endeavor to drop the Ultra Beast HP into the yellow. I bring in Infernape now on the neutral Power Gem, and with that -1 speed drop, max speed EV Infernape is actually faster, letting us make use of the fossils that we got earlier at Olivia's shop to turn Fling into a 100 base power super effective Dark move. That's enough to take down Necrozma, and luckily we did it with our entire team surviving. Ula'ula saved, Ultra Beast rejected, ew. Now there's nothing stopping us from actually trying to beat this challenge. Oh, there's another trial? And it's a bug type? Fuck me. Captain Mina outlines our trial and it's pretty simple. Go beat all the other captains of Ula'ula in a battle. Sounds easy enough, except for the fact that I've been trying to do that the entire run and I'm barely holding on. But we've got to do it, so let's start with Mina. Captain Mina leads with Mawile and I lead with Infernape. Intimidate drops our attack, and that causes us to actually miss the KO with a Fire Punch, but a Citrus Berry keeps us nice and healthy as a second one gets the first KO of the battle. Second up is Granbull, so I pivot through Inkay on an Earthquake to bait a Play Rough, then I bring in Ivysaur. Using a combination of Toxic, Protect, Synthesis, and Leftovers, Ivysaur can stall out the 5 turns of poison that we need, and Granbull succumbs to the Toxic, leaving Mina with only her Rabombi left. I swap to Incineroar on a Psychic for free, and with both Fairy and Bug moves being neutral against us, our starter can pretty easily take care of this one, getting a one-shot KO with Fire Punch. 1 of 5 down, and Mina sends us to Ha'oli Cemetery, where the first trial captain of the run is waiting for us, Captain Alima. Alima leads with Gumshoos, and I lead with Infernape. Our first power-up punch does almost half and gives us an attack boost, so even after getting our HP cut in half with Super Fang, Infernape is still totally safe to fire off another, getting us up to +2 attack and taking down the first Pokemon of the battle. Second up is Smeargle, but this thing is a whole lot less scary than at the beginning of the game, so a +2 close combat gets us an easy one-shot KO, and Alima is down to his final Pokemon, Kamala. It does have priority Sucker Punch, but it's resisted and probably wouldn't get a KO anyways, so Infernape is safe to fire off one more close combat, winning us the second battle of the trial. Alima escorts us to the Lush Jungle, where we get to take on the Grass-type specialist of Ula'ula, Mallow. Mallow leads with Trevenant, and I lead with Incineroar. Darkest Lariat doesn't quite get the KO, but since it just responded with a resisted Horn Leech for like 21 damage, we're totally safe to secure KO number 1 on the next turn, bringing out Serena second. A resisted Dropkick drops our attack, but that's fine since we're U-turning out anyways, as I bring in Ivysaur for free. Serena copies our homework, U-turning into Shiinotic before we even get to attack it, but switching into a Grass Fairy type into my Poison type isn't the greatest idea. A Venoshock is all it takes, bringing down Mallow's second Pokemon and bringing Serena right back out. Neutral U-turn is doing like a quarter of our HP, so we've got this one in the bag as Ivysaur uses a Synthesis to stay healthy, then a couple Venoshocks to bring down the final Pokemon of the battle. We're past the halfway point of the trial now, so let's head over to the Whale of Volcano and get some revenge for Igglybuff against Kiave. Kiave leads with Arcanine and I lead with Infernape. I just wanted to tank the Intimidate attack drop with Monkey, so we U-turn out into Incineroar on a pretty weak Flare Blitz. We're not in any danger here, so after alternating Protect and Bulldoze, that's all she wrote for Arcanine, and Incineroar is still at basically full HP. Second up is Talonflame, who hits us with a really strong Brave Bird to knock us to almost half, which isn't ideal, especially since we have to take another one on the next turn. Or we could get a Paralysis, that works. One more. It's still faster than me? Hello? Well, protecting for leftovers healing came in clutch, so we survived that jump scare and finish off Kiave's second Pokemon with a Thunder Punch, leaving only Alolan Marowak to take care of. Without that thick club from earlier, Alolan Marowak should be sitting at the kids' table, honestly. So we pretty easily tank a Bone Meringue, then finish off this battle with a couple Darkest Lariats. 4 of 5 battles in the books, so let's head up to the Hokulani Observatory and finish this trial off with a battle against Sophocles. Sophocles leads with Togedemaru and I lead with with Incineroar. The 4x weakness to ground types that not only Togi has, but literally every Pokemon on his team has, really isn't helping Sophocles' chances here. After getting flinched by a Zingzap, because of course we did, a Bulldoze gets an easy one-shot KO here, and that brings out a Alolan Golem second. Bulldoze does just about half to the Rock Electric type, then it just misses a Stone Edge before going down, leaving only one Pokemon left to take care of, Magnezone. It's got Sturdy as an ability, so our first Bulldoze doesn't quite get the KO, but a Discharge only knocks our bulky starter into the yellow, meaning on the next turn, one more Bulldoze finishes off Incineroar's sweep. And that's the final battle of Mina's trial down. We do need to go to the Aether house to visit Nanu, but thankfully he just gives us the flower instead of battling us, so we're spared from the final battle of the gauntlet. With all the petals from across Ula'ula assembled, we form the Rainbow Flower, and that summons the final Totem Pokemon left to take on in this run, Totem Ribombee. Totem Ribombee starts the battle with a double Omni Boost. What the fuck? And I lead with Inkay. Pete, why the hell are you leading with your Dark Psychic 4 times weak to Bug Pokemon against the Bug-type Totem? Instead of using Eviolite for once, Inkay is holding the Focus Sash, so we can survive that Bug Buzz that probably would have done like 300% of our health, and then use Topsy-Turvy, turning that +2 Omni Boost into a -2 Omni Drop? I don't know what it's called, it doesn't have a name. Drizzle Pelipper gets called in as an ally Pokemon, so I swap to Ivysaur on a Scald and a Bug Buzz, both of which we tank no problem. From here, Ribombee tries to boost itself back up with Quiver Dance, but it can't get it done fast enough as a couple Venoshocks take down the final totem of the run. That leaves just Drizzle Pelipper to take care of in this 1v1, and it actually scared the hell out of me because after it used a few stockpiles, Spit Up did a ton of damage that could have been really bad if it crit, but since it didn't, who cares? Toxic plus Venoshock takes care of the ally Pokemon, and with that, we've taken down every single totem of Ula'ula. Only one grand trial left to go. Hey, hold on. Why did the level cap go down? I just saw that say 55. Yeah, well, for some reason, Totem Ribombee is at a higher level than Hapu's Ace in the Grand Trial. But if you paid attention during the last battle, instead of having this up on your second monitor while you're doing something else, you would have noticed that everyone was at or below level 54. That means that after we take down a few trainers from early on in the game that we skipped for a really powerful item, we can head straight over to Exeggutor Island and take on the brand new Kahuna of Poni Island without going over the level cap. Let's see what you got, Hapu. Kahuna Hapu leads with Golurk and I lead with Infernape. That super powerful item I mentioned earlier is the Choice Specs. This held item gives your special moves a 1.5x boost, but the catch is that you can only use one of your 4 moves, essentially locking you into that choice. Get it? Choice Specs? Well, Infernape learns the move Grass Knot via TM, and with some special attack EVs, the Choice Specs and Golurk's we get ourselves a one-shot KO, bringing down Hapu's lead and bringing out her ace next, Mudsdale. Unfortunately for the Poni Island Kahuna, Mudsdale is also pretty heavy, so Grass Knot actually gets us another one-shot KO here, and just like that, Hapu's team has been cut in half. Third up is Gastrodon, but since its weight makes Grass Knot only like 60 base power, I actually don't think Infernape has the special attack to get this done. So instead of risking a crit or something, I swapped into Ivysaur to win this 1v1 instead. It can't do a ton of damage to us, so after a couple Giga Drains, Gastrodon goes down, and that leaves Hapu with only one Pokemon, Flygon. I don't have a great answer for dragon types in general, but what I do have is a max special defense EV Ivysaur with Synthesis and Leftovers, so that's good enough, right? Earth Power is doing about a quarter to us, but Giga Drain healing gets us about half of that back, and then Leftovers recovering not only this turn, but the next one because I Protect, and overall we only lost like 16 HP. That's good enough for me, so after a ton of turns slowly chipping away at Flygon, eventually a Giga Drain brings down the famous channel mascot. With that, we've officially taken down the final grand trial on the final island of Ula'ula. There's nothing standing in our way from challenging the Pokemon League now, so let's get over there. There's no way you're entering like that. Like, come on, man. You're such a cornball. Gladion isn't too much of a problem here, so I'll just skip to our trek through Mount Lanakila. Well. Look what we have here. Look how the mighty have fallen, huh? Fuck you. After a quick trip up the elevator, we've made it. The Pokemon League. We finally get to remember level up moves, and now it's time to start planning this Elite Four. You already know who's on the team, but let's talk a little bit more about movesets. Inkay is going to be running the Topsy-Turvy Foul playset that we've used all game, but don't ignore Torment being on there too. Ivysaur gets a level up move back in Worry Seed, but that'll be overwritten for Venoshock after a specific battle. Incineroar is clearly on support detail here, rocking Will-O-Wisp and U-Turn, and Infernape is also rocking a couple changes, adding Taunt and Flame Charge, the latter being his only Fire-type move. Can these 4 eye Pokemon actually take down the entire Elite Four of the hardest vanilla Pokemon game in the series? Let's find out. Since we can take these fights on in any order, we're going to start with our easiest matchup, and that's against Moylaine and his steel types. He leads with Klefki and I lead with Ivysaur. The big problem with Moylaine's lead is that it's got the combination of deadly status moves and the ability Prankster, giving those status moves +1 priority. We've got to do some work to dismantle this setup and make it actually benefit us, so the first step of that is using Worry Seed with Ivysaur, changing its ability to Insomnia. With that priority dealt with, I bring in the star of the show, Infernape. He's got the move Taunts right now, which stops your opponent from using status moves for 3 turns. This also includes the turn that you use it on, and since we're faster than Klefki, we can endlessly renew this taunt, forcing it to use its only attacking move, Flash Cannon. It did get a Reflect Up on the switch in turn, but that actually benefits us because it reduces our damage, letting us get off more power-up punches to boost our attacks even higher. By the time we KO Klefki, Infernape is up to +3 attack and +1 speed, giving us enough power and speed to secure a KO on Moylaine's next Pokemon, his Ace, Ula'ula, and Dugtrio, with another power-up punch. Third up is Metagross, who's the main reason we needed this many boosts. Flame Charge nets us another one-shot KO here, and Moylaine sends out Magnezone fourth. It does have the Sturdy ability, so it survives a power-up punch with 1 HP, but since we've got HP and special defense EVs to tank the incoming discharge, we still take care of Moylaine's 4th Pokemon without risking anything. That leaves only Bisharp left, but it's 4 times weak to fighting moves and we're like +6, so that's another easy one. That's the first Elite 4 member of Alola in the books, but they all aren't going to be this easy, right? We're going to rematch Akala Island Kahuna Olivia for our second Elite 4 battle. She leads with Armaldo and I lead with Incineroar. The first thing I want to do here is burn this to reduce its damage output. It does take a couple of turns since Will-O-Wisp isn't super accurate, but once we do get it burned, we can slow U-turn out into Infernape to get him in safely, and now it's time for a familiar strat. We should be able to get off a couple power-up punches to boost our... Oh, she switched. Interesting. I wonder why. Well, with Probopass coming out now and us breaking it sturdy with Power-Up Punch, I won't get to show off my King's Rock Fling strat that I had prepared, but it would have been sick, I promise. Another Power-Up Punch brings us to +2 attack and takes care of Probopass, getting us the boost we need to take care of this battle. Gigalith comes out next, but its Sandstream ability only boosts its special defense, so see you later. Olivia's Ace Lycanroc is next, but even without a speed boost, max Speed EV Infernape can just outspeed and get a KO with super effective close combat. Armaldo is back out next, but running away just delayed the inevitable. Nice try. That leaves only Cradily left to deal with, but Infernape just presses close combat again, getting his 5th KO of the battle and his 10th of the Elite 4 so far, winning us the second battle of the Elite 4. Those two were always going to be the easy ones, so we should have a little bit more trouble with the second half of this gauntlet. Trial Captain turned Elite 4 member Acerola and her team of Ghost types is up 3rd for us. She leads with Banette and I lead with Infernape. Our Sinnoh starter can learn Shadow Claw via TM, so he's continuing his solo Elite 4 quest, grabbing his 11th straight KO of the video, taking out Banette in one shot. That brings out Palossand second, and it's finally time to let someone else have the spotlight. I swap into Incineroar, who's holding an air balloon to dodge the incoming Earth Power or the ground type Z move, but it just went for Iron Defense instead. That's no big deal since we're using Darkest Lariat here, a move that ignores all your opponent's stat boosts. Since it needs to hit us with a non-ground move to pop our air balloon, Incineroar only needs to tank a weak resisted Shadow Ball before outspeeding on the next turn, taking care of Acerola's Ace with another Darkest Lariat. Third up is Delmise, who's only got 35 base power Whirlpool to threaten us, but our Darkest Lariat just gets a crit, so we don't even need to worry about it. Fourth up is Frostlass, who could hypothetically wipe the entire run if we get really unlucky with Confusion luck after it hits a Confuse Ray, but thankfully for us, they nerf the chances of self-hit from 50% to 33%, so we break through on the first turn, connecting with the Darkest Lariat and securing our starter, his 3rd KO of the battle. That leaves only Drifblim left for Acerola, but this Pokemon has a terrible learn set, especially if it's the last Pokemon out, which it almost always is because its best move is only 60 base power. I won't waste your time, a couple more Darkest Lariats take down Acerola's final Pokemon, and we're one battle away from fighting for that champion title. On to the next. Oh boy, this is the one I've been avoiding. We've got no flying resists, plus our best Pokemon is weak to flying moves, so this one is gonna be tough. Kahili leads with Braviary and I lead with Incineroar. With Sheer Force and Stab Brave Bird, I don't love our matchup here, so Incineroar is max HP and defense for this battle. Brave Bird still does like almost half to us before we hit a Thunder Punch, and on this next turn, we should survive without a crit. Or Kahili could just switch, I guess? Why did she do that? Well, this is the Pokemon I actually wanted out, so it's time to put our plan into motion against Hawlucha. I swap into Inkay here, who should only die to double crit, and this lets her get off our tried and true strategy of the run, Torment. This lets me swap into Infernape on anything but a Flying Press, and with leftovers and Protect, we should be healthy enough to start boosting our attack with Power Up Punch. We get up to +4 attack and +1 speed before Hawlucha goes down, but we did get poisoned by Poison Jab along the way. I kind of forgot that was a possibility, so I'm hoping that Oversight doesn't bite me in the ass later. Braviary is back out next, so another Power Up Punch takes care of it no problem, getting us to +5 and bringing out Mandibuzz third. Its part Dark typing makes close combat neutral, so we can outspeed and get a KO without risking our sweeper. But our HP is getting really low now. So when Kahili sends out Toucannon fourth, I've gotta make a choice. If I can survive the next tick of poison, we've got the battle in the bag. But if we don't, I think it's game over. I take my chances here, firing off another close combat, easily getting the KO on Kahili's ace. But the real question is, will we survive this poison damage? 2 HP? Jesus Christ. Well, the last Pokemon of the fight is Oricorio, and even though close combat is resisted, at +5, we can still take advantage of its low defenses, getting a one-shot KO and avoiding any more poison damage. With that, we've successfully taken down all of the Alolan Elite Four members, and Infernape secured 16 out of 20 KOs. Let's hope he can keep that energy up in the final battle. We head up the final staircase, but before we can claim the throne, our rival Hau makes his final appearance, challenging us for the title of Alolan Champion. Hau leads with Alolan Raichu, and I lead with Inkay. Just like the last time we took him on, Inkay pretty comfortably wins this 1v1, taking less than half from a Thunderbolt before a foul play nets Inkay her first KO of the Elite Four. Second up is Tauros, which was not according to my plan. I forgot Double Edge is 120 base power. Well, unfortunately for Inkay, that means she needs to make a sacrifice here. Our first usable Pokemon, the Totem Yungu Slayer, thank you. I bring in Incineroar for free now, and after a Will-O-Wisp nerfs its damage output, a few Darkest Lariats take down the second Pokemon of the battle, and Hau sends out Vaporeon third. A mistake that's gonna cost him this battle. I swap into Ivysaur on a Hydro Pump, and since this thing only has Hydro Pump and Quick Attack as attacking moves, we can pretty easily waste all of its PP by spamming Protect and Synthesis with Ivysaur. Without a water move, it doesn't threaten Infernape at all, so I swap him in on a Baby Doll Eyes, dropping our attack. With Taunt back in our moveset via TM, we can do something similar to what we did against Klefki earlier, forcing it to only use Quick Attack as we slowly boost our attack with Power Up Punch and get a speed boost with Flame Charge. By the time we take down Hau's third Pokemon of the battle, we've wasted a full restore and we're up to +4 attack and +1 speed. With these crazy boosts, we can outspeed and KO Noivern with a resisted close combat, KO Crabominable with another close combat, then finish off the battle with a Flame Charge KO on Decidueye. With that, Hau's been taken down, we've earned the title of first Alolan Champion, and we've officially beaten a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Ultra Sun using only Pokemon that start with the letter I. Thanks guys so much for watching this one. I haven't done a letter lock like this in a little bit, and I really missed these limited but type diverse runs. I'm sure a lot of you guys are waiting for the Renegade Platinum leg of the Drayano Gauntlet. It's been sitting on my premiere timeline for a few weeks. It's coming soon, I promise. If you like this video, let me know by hitting that like button or subscribing if you haven't already. With that being said guys, thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you in the next one.